Hello, and welcome back to another day of art. Our goal today is, I can explain what symbolism is and how artists use it in their work. I can demonstrate my understanding of values and personal symbols. So far we have talked about the portrait's subject, what they can show us about themselves through how they are posed and the expressions they have on their faces. What we will talk about today is the symbols and objects around that person in the art. Up until a couple hundred years ago, the literacy rate around the world is the ability of the population to read, was very, very low. Like, not many people could read. Even though a lot of people could not read, they still wanted to be able to tell stories and pass on information. One way that they could do this is through symbolism. Symbolism is the idea that a visual picture can be used to represent something else. Often, stories were told using common symbols and paintings to teach the lessons that the community found to be important. An example of this would be visually showing the power of those who were in charge of the community. Common objects in these portraits could be fruit, or jewels, or fur. The fruit was because fruit was a luxury to have, because they didn't always grow in certain areas, and the transport options back then were pretty much a boat. And so it could take a really long time, and often the fruit would have spoiled before it got there. So to be able to get fruit really quickly would require more money, so only the rich could really get different fruits. The use of fur and jewels is also a symbol of wealth because they could afford these objects. Both of these materials were really hard and they took time to create, and so you would have to pay more to get them. So again, that's why the wealthy would have these objects. Another important symbol in art was color. So reds and purples were actually very hard to make at one point in history, and so only the ruling classes were allowed to wear it. So it became a symbol of wealth and power to be painted in reds and purples. Likewise, the neutral colors like whites and tans, browns, and yellows were more so for the common folk or the working class because you didn't really have to dye it and you didn't have to change the color from what it naturally was. And also, their clothes would often get dirty, so they wouldn't spend a lot on clothes because it was going to get dirty anyway. Another thing that you could also show was your values through the companions that you had in your portraits. It might be a family portrait where every relative was included to show you as a united group, or you could show your loyalty with a dog, as dogs were symbols of being very loyal to their owners. Another example of an animal companion would be owls, and the symbolism that an owl has is that they are very wise animals, so they are very smart. Aside from companions, you could also show these same values through objects in the background, such as books or a globe together, which would show worldly knowledge. Or you could also include flowers to show, like, beauty. Now, today we wouldn't use fruit to show wealth, nor would we use specific colors because they're accessible to everyone. What are things we could consider to be wealth? If we stuck with food, we could use really fancy cakes, or we could use shellfish like crab or lobster because they're still really expensive to get. When it comes to what we wear, it could be like big brand names like Nike, or the objects we carry around like Apple phones and watches. What we will be creating this week will look similar to this, where part of your face is made up of line art and the other portion is made up of symbols. The line art symbolizes you physically as a person as you look whenever somebody sees you, whereas the symbols describe who you are as a person on the inside, what you are interested in, and what you value to anyone who would look at your portrait. What I want you to do today is, in the comments, create a list of objects and symbols you feel help describe who you are. You could add your favorites of different things, like favorite food, animal, your favorite color, your favorite hobby, maybe you have a favorite song or band, favorite cartoons you like to watch, your favorite video game. You could add what you do in your spare time. Do you make comic books? Do you play Five Nights at Freddy's? Do you read a lot? Do you play a sport? What do you do with your family? Is some of your family from a different state? A different country? Draw something that reminds you of that. Are there foods that your family makes or holidays and celebrations that your family participates in? For example, my grandma's family is from Norway and there is a dish called lefse that is made from potatoes. Every year we get together around the winter time and make a day of creating lefse together. So I could either draw a picture of what lefse looks like, or I could add the Norwegian flag as a symbol. What are symbols that you could create that show aspects of who you are? Are you someone who cares deeply for others? Maybe you could add a heart in there for that. Do you like to make other people laugh? Maybe you could draw like a speech bubble with like the laughing like haha in it. Regardless, what we are doing is we are making a list about what is important for our self-portrait and what objects we would want to have. We're creating a list because it makes the drafting and final image easier to create. So what I want you to do today is you're going to create a list of interests, hobbies, and family traditions that you could also add to your art. I'd like you to have at least 10 different things on there. Remember, more is always better because you can always not add things, but then at least the ideas are there. That is all that I have for you today. Have a great day and I will see you later. Bye!